Well, welcome to this online revision session for AQA D1, in which we will be looking at the January 2010 question 6 on the topic of algorithms. In this particular question, you can see a student is finding a numerical approximation for the area under a graph, and the instructions for the algorithm are clearly stated here from lines 110 through to 120. We're asked to trace the algorithm, which means we need to show clearly the values that are being calculated line by line as we work through the algorithm. So it's a good idea to start with the input values A, B and N, and then you can see in line 20 we put in a value for T. In line 30 we've got a value for D, line 40's got a value for H, and line 50's got a value for E. So if we put in the starting values of 1, 5 and 2 for A, B and N respectively, then in line 20 it says T is 0. Line 30 it says let D be equal to the A value, which is 1. Line 40 says H is going to be B, which is 5, minus A, which is 1, so that's 4, divided by 2, which is the N value, so that gives you 2. And then E is a half of H, which makes that 1. Then in line 60 we calculate a new value for T, which is the old value of T, plus A cubed and B cubed. Well, 1 cubed for A is 1, 5 cubed is 125, so that's 126, and T was 0, so that stays as 126. Line 70 then says let D be equal to D plus H. Well, D was 1, H is 2, so that makes that value 3. Line 80 then says D is equal to B, then go to line 110. D is equal to B is not true, so we ignore that and go on to line 90, which now we calculate another value for T, which is T plus twice D cubed. Well, T is 126, so 3 cubed, which is the value of D, is 27, times 2 makes 54, add it on 126, that makes 180. Now it says, go back to line 70, so D will be equal to D plus H, well, H is 2, so that makes that value 5. Then it says, does D equal B? Well, B was 5 and now D is 5, so the answer to that's yes. So we go to line 110, so we've got to print the area, so we have to write area, and the area will equal T times E. So T is 180, E is 1, 180 times 1 is 180. There we go. We've come to the end, line 120. Well, the marking for this. We managed to trace successfully as far as the second value of T. That will give us 1 method mark. If we've obtained T equal to 126, that gives us an answer mark for accuracy. And if we then manage to trace as far as the third value of T, the 180, that will give us another method mark. And if we have then finally stated the correct values, including the 180, and we've got no other extra values in there, and make certain you've included A, B and N in your trace, then you will get an additional accuracy mark or answer mark. Okay. Right, in part B, what happens now? Well, we've got a new set of values to work with. So once again, we need to trace through with these new set of values. So, as before, start with A, B and N, and we've got T, D, H and E. This time A is 1, B is 5 and N is now 4. So line 20 says T is 0. Line 30 says D, let it equal A. Line 40 then says we've got to make H equal to B minus A, which is 4, divided by N, which is 4, so that makes that value 1. And then E is of half of H, which makes it 0.5. Line 60 then says cube A, cube B, add them together and add the old value of T to it, and so once again that makes 126. Line 70 then says let D be equal to D plus H, so 1 plus another 1 makes that 2. Line 80 then says, does D equal B? The answer to that's no. So then we go to line 100 and we don't go to line 110, we ignore it and go on to line 90. So that will mean you've got a cubed D, so 2 cubed is 8, 2 times 8 is 16, plus the old value of it, T, which makes that 142. Now we go back to line 70, so D equals D plus H. Well, H is 1, D is 2, so that now becomes 3. Then it says, does D equal B? No. So we go to next line, which says T equals T plus 2 times D cubed. So D cubed is 27 times 2 is 54. Add that onto there, makes 196. Once again, does D equal B? No. So sorry, we won't go to line 70. I got lost then for a moment. We've just done the T plus 2D cubed. So line 70, go back to the D and do D plus H again. And then does D equal B? No, the answer is no once again. So we then have to go on to line 90 and cube the 4, which is 64. Double it is 128 and add that onto the old value of T to get the new value of T, so that makes 324. Then we go to line 70 again, add D and H together to give you a new value of D. Does D equal B? Well, D is 5 and B is 5, so the answer to that now is yes. So we go to the print area statement So the area will equal, and this time we've got to print T, which is 324 times E, which is a half of that, so that gives me 162. Once again then, the 4 marks. As before, we've managed to carry out the algorithm and traced it through. We'll get 1 mark. If we got T as 142, then the second value, that will give us an answer mark through to that point. If we then manage to continue right the way through to 324 and the value 5, that will give us another mark. And if all the values are correct, including the final value 162, and there's no extras, and we got the 1, 5 and 4 in, that will give you 1 more accuracy mark to give you your 4 marks. Just got to be very careful to follow through the algorithm, because it's very easy to jump and not write everything down. Okay, so just be careful. The marks are easy to collect if you follow it through step by step. Well, hopefully you found that solution helpful. For more assistance with your maths revision, please go to the Further Maths Support Programme website.